Hello and welcome to Zenjo's tangling tips and techniques. My name's Jo Quincy, and today I want to show you how to draw one of my favourite tangles, and it's Pokeroot. It's a very organic tangle. So let's just take a moment to get ourselves nice and comfortable. Make sure you're in a nice seated position. Maybe have your back supported by a cushion. And we'll just take a moment to do that first step in Zentangle, which is gratitude. So important to just stop and think about what we're grateful for. And for many of us that create Zentangle, our gratitude is Zentangle, that we can be grateful for our ability to use this wonderful creative mindful practice. And maybe there's other things that you could just take a moment to say, yeah, I'm grateful for that. And puts you in a lovely sense of well-being. Okay, let's move that little name tag out of the way. So I have a white tile, I have my Zentangle pencil, and I'm going to start off by doing just my 4 corner dots, making a simple dot in the corner with my pencil. I'm going to join them with the border, like so. Doesn't matter if the line is a little bit wibbly wobbly. It's all part of the fun of Zentangle. So there's your border. I'm now going to pop a little string in, and I'm just going to do it quite lightly. So I'm going to come down from this corner down to the centre. I'm going to just make a sweep there and do the same on the other side. So I've got sort of like a nice V shape. Okay, so Pokeroot. Pokeroot is actually a plant that grows in America. Some of it's actually poisonous. When I've discovered in my research. So it's a lovely organic tangle. So I'm going to start off drawing it down in the bottom corner, down in the bottom of this funnel here. So what I start off with is a nice stalk. So imagine just doing a stalk shape. Over the top of that, I'm going to add a little curved cap so it closes off that stalk. And now, this is a lovely bit that I like doing. I'm going to start around about halfway down the stalk, and I'm going to draw an orb all the way around. So I'm going to come up and round, and you can see I've ignored my string. Okay, so you've got this lovely fat chubby berry. So this string, sometimes I'm going to ignore it, and sometimes I'm going to abide by it, like keep within it. So I'm going to do another Pokeroot berry. They look like berries, okay? So I'm going to start off here. I'm going to draw another stalk, and I'm going to pop a cap over the top. And now I can draw another lovely big berry. And I've gone outside the string. That's okay. Okay. So I'm going to fill this section with these lovely berries. And I would suggest you try and sort of alternate where you put your stalk so that you don't get a long line. You can do a long line, but it's quite nice to get them sort of muddled in. Okay, so this one now, I'm actually going to stop this berry at the string. I'm going to pop a stalk in here, and you just keep building these berries into this space. You can add a little curve to your stalk, and here you can see I'm drawing underneath. I've abided by that string again there. That hollybore is the technique of drawing underneath, so you get them looking like they're overlapping. So I'm stopping at the string again there. Okay, so you can see how this will start filling this section. Okay, and you can change the shape of these berries. They don't have to be completely round. You can make them maybe oval. You could make them a little bit pointed at the end. Okay, this one I'm going to take outside the string. There's a reason for that, which I'll show you in a little while, just because it looks quite nice. Obviously, as you're going up this section, you have more berries in the area. Okay, I'm going to pop this one here, and this one's going to go out of the string a little bit, so I've got some staying in, some popping out of this string area. So when you're doing this, enjoy this action of making these curves. Remember, it's just simple strokes. What we've done is 2 strokes for the stalks, and then we add in the little cap, nice little curve. I'm going to stop it at the string there, and then we've got the curve of the berry. It's not complicated, and this tangle is one that sort of, I don't know, it's a go-to tangle. It fills a space really quite nicely, quite quickly. Always I would recommend that you draw it slightly bigger than you possibly think you should. Try not to make them too small. So that one's going to go out of the string there. So you can see how quickly you can fill an area with these lovely pokeroot berries. I'm going to do another video of the sister tangle, which is poke leaf, which would go hand in hand with this one. But that will be later on. Okay, so you can see I'm not worrying about whether the stalks are a bit fatter or thinner. Everybody's got their own different style of how these will look. Okay, so you can see I've got these lovely pokeroot berries. So what am I going to do with these sort of tangles that are sort of half finished? With this string, I'm going to restate it in pen. So I'm going to start off in the corner. I'm going to stop there. Where one isn't quite completed, I'm going to pop a line there. So you can see it completes it by just popping this line, restating this string line. I'm now going to turn my tile because that makes it a little bit easier for me to restate the line on the other side, that string line. Okay, so now that makes it a little bit more complete. You can aura next to it so that you have almost like a ribbon coming up the side. It gives it a little bit of a border. Come down this way. So you don't need to use lots and lots and lots of tangles to just have a really nice chance to enjoy Zentangle. So now I'm going to fill in the spaces in between with ink. Now the pen I'm using is a Pigma 05 pen. In Zentangle, if you go to their website, they're the apprentice pens. They're actually plastic nib pens like the Micron PN. I really enjoy using these Pigma pens. They're slightly thicker. The line is slightly thicker. I mean, I do like using the Sakura Micron 01s a lot, but these are quite substantial pens. And I find the ink and the nib work really well. And so if you haven't tried them, they're the black pens that look like this. So Pigma 05. And they feel sort of nice on the surface of the Zentangle tile. These lovely 100% cotton Fabriano Tiapolo tiles that Zentangle have created. Really nice surface to tangle on. I'm just going to turn my tile here. It's absorbent, it's slightly cushioned, it's got a bit of a tooth to the surface, which makes your tangling so much more enjoyable. It's much nicer than using shiny card, shiny paper. Always try and choose the best surface that you can afford or you can find to tangle upon. Value what you do. Value your art, value your creativity, and if you use the best quality materials that you can find, you find that you get a far more enjoyable experience. Okay, so you can see how quite quickly you can fill these little areas, dab the ink in there. I don't edit out much of my videos. A couple of reasons. I think it's good for people who are following them to see just how you do things, that it's in real time, that you can follow along. And the other very key thing is, I am not a dab hand at IT. I don't have any background in IT, but I'm gradually learning. So yeah, as time goes on, I hope that I'll be able to edit my videos a little bit, but I will still keep the general approach of giving you Joe and Zen Joe as it is, and enjoying that process that we all enjoy and love of creating these lovely images one stroke at a time. And I find the process of blacking out very enjoyable. It's something that's sort of very satisfying. And so take your time with this. If you've got a finer nib pen, just take your time. Don't feel that you are taking too long. You never, ever, ever take too long, because it's about enjoying what you do. And everybody tangles at a different pace, and everybody's pace is right for them. So don't feel pressured that you've got to go faster or slower. The only time I would say go slower is just to actually enjoy what you're doing, to actually focus on these pen strokes, to feel the feedback of the pen or the pen's working on the surface. Okay, so there we have Pokeroot sitting in its little V shape. I'm popping the pen lid on. I'm now going to get my graphite pencil and show you how I shade the Pokeroot. So I pop my tortillon just to one side there. Okay, so I'll start off with this one because it's a nice big whole one. First thing I do is where this cap is over the top, I'm going to, with a nice sharp pencil, add graphite just underneath that cap with the side of your pencil. Let me make this a little bit bigger. Here we are. So then once you've got that graphite there with your tortillon, just soften it. You want to make it a bit more cloud-like, keeping it dark up underneath that little cap. And by just doing that, you create this impression of that cap going into a nice juicy, or that stalk going into a nice juicy berry. So that's the first bit. Next bit I'm going to do is I'm just going to pop some graphite just on one side of this berry. Just on one side. Okay. Now I'm going to soften it. Not using a lot of pressure, just to get rid of that pencil line. And then I lift the pressure of my tortillon, so I'm hardly touching it. And I'm just going to bring it round. You want to have some contrast. You want to have contrast of grey and white. And the grey of the graphite, the shade, will add some depth. So let's move up this one. Here, I'm going to pop some graphite underneath the cap there. Now this berry is on top of this one. So I'm going to pop some graphite here, because if you imagine that it was sitting on top of it, it would add a little bit of shade. So I'm going to soften that underneath where it goes in underneath the cap, and then I'm going to soften this round. You don't want to make them all grey, otherwise it'd just be flat grey. The other place on this one that I'm going to add some shade is here, where it goes underneath that little border. Okay, and we're going to work up along these berries, so you can just under the cap of each one, just where it goes underneath. You can see I'm carefully trying not to get it within the stalk so that you get that contrast. And by popping some graphite around the outer edges, you add some depth. Shade is about adding depth to create that 3D effect, and if something is darker, the eye perceives it as further away. So if you think a berry is lovely and round, so the roundness means the edges curve away from you and they're therefore further away from you. So that's where you want to add your shade, so that you create that impression of them floating, of it floating away. Okay, so you can see on this one I've just gone a little bit underneath here because that's going underneath. So again here, this one's going underneath, so I add a little bit of graphite there and a bit there. I'm not going to put any around the edge because I've got graphite on both the sides here. So my tortillon also has graphite on it from previous use, so use that. Don't always feel you've always got to add graphite with your pencil. Sometimes you've got enough on the end of your tortillon, just like so, to add graphite into a place. So use what's on the end of your tortillon. Okay, so you can see how these berries are beginning to change from very nice 2D, but you want to make them a little bit more 3D. Now I've got a bit of a string line here. It's very faint, but I'm just going to soften that. That sort of just blends in. So don't worry about the string line. When you do your strings, do them lightly so that you can see, but then you can blend them in if you need to. Okay, so pop some around the top here. And you can start seeing the difference between these lovely chubby shaded berries and the ones that you've yet to shade. Okay, we'll be adding shade in just one more place when we've done all these, so bear with me. As I said, I don't edit this out so that it fast tracks. I don't speed things up. I think it's nice to work alongside with somebody at a pace that's sort of a normal pace. Okay, here we go, underneath here. So this comes round. So as you're using your tortillon, what happens is that the tortillon pushes the graphite particles into the surface of the paper, this lovely sort of cotton paper. It stabilises it in a place, but use little circular moves. The surface of the tile, as I said, has a toothiness, so adding a circular move means that it goes into all the right little places. Okay, so that you don't get sort of a backwards and forwards line from your graphite. Okay, so a nice little tiny circular move, always worth having a decent tortillon, not a stubby flat thing, because you can be more precise with your shading then. You can be more precise about where you want your graphite to go. Same as having a well sharpened pencil, not because you need a sharp point to draw with, but you've got more precision with the point as to where you want that graphite to go, rather than if you've got a flat blunt end to your pencil. And always just use the side of your pencil of the graphite. Don't use the point, because that leaves sort of a harsh line which can be more difficult to tortillon soften away. This is, I'm giving you quite a lot of information on shading, but there is a lot more that I can give you in my Shade with Confidence class that I teach. So if you'd like to know about that, do pop me an email on info@zenjo.uk, or pop me a message on Facebook. You know, you can find me, or pop me a message on here. You can leave your comments on this video. We always appreciate those, so thank you. And it's nice to know how people feel. If there's something, if there's a tangle, if any of you have a tangle that you would like some help with, or would like me to do a video of, do pop me a line. I'll always be happy to give it a go, video it for you. Sometimes there's tangles that we just can't get the hang of, and it helps to have somebody show you away from a class. Okay, so you can see how that's begun to change. I'm now going to just add a line of graphite just down this outer edge. I mean, if you've done this tile as I have on a 3.5 inch tile, you might want to add some simple tangles in to this space. I actually really quite like the negative space, but there is the option of adding a tangle into the side, something like Diva Dance. It would be really nice, or one of the grid tangles. And that contrasts very nicely with the Pokeroot. Okay, and just soften this down here. And there we have it. And there we have your Pokeroot tile. Please do send me pictures of your Pokeroot. I'd love to see them. And any questions, please pop them below. Thank you very much, and bye-bye.